Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Claire is stunned by Kyle's confession, Jack's special request. According to the spoilers for Wednesday, August 6th of The Young and the Restless, Kyle Abbott's confession will surprise Claire Newman, and Jack Abbott will receive a special request. On Wednesday's Y&R episode, Melody Thomas Scott's Nikki Newman will first have an important conversation with Jack. It turns out that Nikki will make a pitch to Jack soon enough, hoping that he will be willing to help her. Nikki's special request, which may have something to do with Victor Newman and Claire Newman's fight, will be heard by Jack. Nikki will want to make things right in her family, so she might ask Jack not to upset Victor right now. On the other hand, it's possible that Nikki will ask Jack to speak with Kyle and persuade him to urge Claire toward peace. Nikki knows that Claire values Kyle's opinion, so she may think Kyle is the best person to calm Claire down. Of course, Kyle already suggested Claire should take a step back and cool off, but Claire's mind is made up when it comes to taking a stand against Victor. Kyle will decide that it is time to be open with Claire now that she is prepared to continue living with him. According to Y&R spoilers, Kyle will confess, suggesting that he will reveal the truth about what took place in Nice. Naturally, Kyle may not divulge every last detail. It's possible that Kyle won't include the part about landing on the bed with Audra while covered in a towel. That said, Kyle might at least admit to kissing Audra and proving the seduction scheme she was running for Victor. Victor going to such lengths to end her relationship with Kyle are sure to make Claire even more furious. It looks like Kyle will get a pass for his own inappropriate moves behind closed doors, mostly because Claire will be so disgusted with Victor and Audra. Regarding Audra, she will not be able to persuade Victor to stop funding Vibrante. The game is over as far as Victor's concerned, so Audra will ultimately leave in a huff and worry about what's next. According to the Young and the Restless spoilers, Kyle will update Claire on the shocking news from France, so keep an eye out for her upcoming fight with Audra. Crimson lights buzzed with quiet murmurs and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee as Jack Abbott leaned back in his chair, fixing his eyes on Nikki Newman across the table. Her normally polished composure was strained, her brow creased as she finally delivered her request. Jack, instinctively wary when it came to Newman family affairs, narrowed his gaze. "You want me to talk to Kyle, to intervene with Claire?" he asked, voice low and skeptical. Nikki nodded slowly, explaining that Claire's fury after Victor's most recent manipulations had spiraled beyond what she or Victoria could manage. Victor's relentless effort to dismantle Kyle and Claire's bond using Audra no less had driven a sharp wedge into the family's already fragile dynamics. Nikki, seeing the ripple effect through the Newman and Abbott clans, feared it would explode beyond repair. She admitted that she wasn't asking Jack to betray his son but to help stabilize Claire before she did something she couldn't take back. Jack listened, measured and thoughtful, before giving a single nod, promising nothing more than a conversation. Meanwhile, across town, in the quiet comfort of the Abbott mansion, Kyle stood staring at a framed photograph of him, Claire, and Harrison at the Chancellor Park Carnival. There had been genuine happiness in their eyes that day, unspoiled by lies, secrets, and schemes. But the weight of his actions in France, particularly his near-miss with Audra, now cast a long shadow over those joyful moments. Claire deserved the truth. All of it, or at least enough of it to understand how things got so twisted. When Claire arrived at the house that afternoon, still reeling from her confrontation with Victor, she wasn't prepared for what Kyle had to say. "Claire," he began hesitantly, taking her hand, "there's something I've been holding back. Something I need to tell you." Her expression changed immediately, a flicker of worry blooming into full-blown alarm. "What happened?" she asked. "You said everything was fine and nice, just business." Kyle sighed, guiding her to sit. "It started as that. But it got complicated." He admitted how Audra, under Victor's orders, had followed him to France with one goal: seduce him, sabotage his loyalty to Claire, and bring back ammunition to Victor. Claire's eyes widened with every word. Kyle confessed that Audra played her role too well, and for a moment, he'd fallen into old patterns, letting her into his hotel suite, letting the flirtation linger, even allowing a kiss. Claire pulled her hand back. "You kissed her?" she asked, her voice hoarse, betrayed not just by Kyle's weakness but by her grandfather's unrelenting manipulation. "It was wrong," Kyle admitted. "But I stopped it before it went too far." I swear. Claire stood up, arms crossed tightly across her chest, fury bubbling under her skin. My grandfather used you to get to me. And you let him. Kyle's jaw tightened. I let my guard down. I was stupid. But I came back because I love you. And because what we have, it's worth being honest about. Even when it's hard. Claire turned away, blinking back tears. The betrayal was layered, Victor's twisted need to control her life, Audra's betrayal after all their tentative steps toward civility, and Kyle's failure to resist the trap. Do you realize how humiliated I am? She whispered. Victor doesn't see me as a woman, he sees me as a pawn. And you were supposed to be on my side. Kyle moved toward her, hesitant. I am on your side. That's why I told you. You needed to know before things went further between us. I want to live together, Claire. But not if there are secrets hanging over us. Claire turned back slowly, meeting his eyes. You want us to live together. And yet you kiss the woman who's been trying to destroy me. Kyle shook his head. I want us to move forward. But not with lies. There was a long silence before Claire whispered, you should have told me the second you got back. Not now. Not after I decided I was ready to commit to us. The pain in her voice cut deep, but before either could say another word, Jack walked in, sensing the tension. Am I interrupting something? He asked softly. Kyle glanced at Claire, who stepped aside without answering, making room for the father-son moment Jack clearly wanted. Jack waited until she left the room before he spoke. Nikki asked me to talk to you. About Claire. Kyle's eyebrows raised. Let me guess, Victor's losing control, and Nikki's cleaning up the mess. Jack gave a faint smile. Something like that. But what she really wants is peace. And for Claire not to burn everything down in retaliation. Kyle scoffed. You know Claire. Once she's made up her mind. Jack's tone turned serious. Then make her see reason. Because this feud between her and Victor could get dangerous. Not just for them, but for everyone around them. Including you. Kyle looked out the window, thoughtful. She's furious, Dad. And I can't blame her. Jack nodded. Neither can I. But if there's any part of her that still trusts you, use that trust to de-escalate this. For all our sakes. Later that evening, Claire stormed into society, where Audra was sipping martinis and pretending the world hadn't imploded. Claire didn't bother with niceties. She marched up to the table and slammed her hands down, drawing attention from half the restaurant. You disgusting little parasite, she snapped. Was it fun? Throwing yourself at my boyfriend. Audra's smirk didn't falter. Your boyfriend invited me into his hotel room, remember? I didn't break in. Claire's voice dropped to a venomous whisper. You were working for Victor. You used your body to manipulate Kyle and sabotage me. You really think I'm going to let you get away with that? Audra stood slowly, unshaken. I don't care what you let, Claire. The only person you should be angry with is Kyle for letting it happen. Don't project your insecurities onto me. Claire raised her hand as if to slap her, but held back at the last second. You're not worth it, she growled. But I promise you, Audra, this isn't over. Meanwhile, Victor sat at the Newman ranch, calmly swirling his scotch. When Nikki confronted him, he shrugged off the accusations. I did what I had to do. That boy is not good enough for Claire. Nikki's voice trembled with frustration. You weaponized Audra and destroyed any chance Claire had of trusting you. You lied to her again. Victor's eyes hardened. She'll thank me someday. Nikki turned on her heel. Don't hold your breath. That night, back at the Abbott house, Claire returned, her face pale and determined. I confronted Audra, she told Kyle. I told her what I think of her. And I told her this isn't over. Kyle looked tired, resigned. Claire, this war, it's going to consume you. Claire sat down beside him. Then help me end it. Not by forgiving Victor, but by making sure he can't control my life anymore. Kyle took her hand again. I'll help you, but not through vengeance. If we're going to make it work, we have to be better than that. Claire looked at him, really looked, and despite the anger still simmering in her chest, she saw truth in his eyes. Maybe he had made a mistake, but at least he came clean. And that, in this world of lies, secrets, and family sabotage, was worth something. One condition, she said softly. No more secrets. Ever. Kyle nodded. No more. As the night deepened over Genoa City, Jack watched from the stairwell, unseen, as his son and Claire sat close again, still fractured, but not broken. And he silently hoped Nikki's gamble, and his own small part in it, had helped guide them back to something real. Still, the question lingered. Would Victor let go? Or was the storm just beginning? The morning after Claire's explosive confrontation with Audra, the entire Abbott estate was wrapped in an uneasy silence. Claire had barely slept, her mind tossing between heartbreak, fury, and quiet panic. She paced the guest room upstairs, debating if she should pack up and leave before Kyle even woke. Her pride demanded distance, but her heart wasn't ready to walk away. Downstairs, Kyle stood in the kitchen nursing a mug of black coffee, going over the events in his head like a man trying to piece together a train wreck. The kiss, the towel, Audra's provocative laughter, it all came rushing back, haunting him. Yet worse than the guilt was the fear that Claire, the one person who had given him a fresh start, would never look at him the same again. Jack entered the kitchen quietly, studying his son with a knowing glance. Rough night? Kyle sighed. We talked. Or argued. Mostly. Jack nodded, retrieving a cup for himself. Talking is a start. You were honest, that counts for something. Kyle winced. Maybe. But it might not be enough. Jack stirred sugar into his coffee and gave his son a meaningful look. Then you fight for her. You fight with integrity, something Victor's forgotten how to do. Meanwhile, Claire stepped out onto the balcony, her phone buzzing with a text from Victoria. It read, "Call me. We need to talk about grandfather. I think something's going on." Claire wasn't in the mood to rehash Victor's misdeeds, but the message struck a nerve. Victoria rarely sent vague warnings. Against her better judgment, she returned the call. What's going on? Claire asked wearily. Victoria sounded tense. Dad's meeting with some offshore investors, he's moving around assets. I think he's preparing for some kind of retaliation from Jack or from you. Claire blinked. He's planning defense. Or offense, Victoria muttered. He doesn't trust you anymore. He thinks you've turned fully to the Abbotts. Especially after your blow-up with Audra. Claire rubbed her temple. He used Audra. And Kyle. And now he's mad I'm the traitor. Victoria sighed. You know how Dad works. The minute he can't control someone, he eliminates the threat. Just be careful. If he thinks you're a liability, he won't play nice. The call ended with more dread than clarity. Claire stood alone on the balcony, the chill in the summer air mirroring the one wrapping itself around her heart. This was bigger than Kyle's mistake. This was about power, control, and the kind of war Victor Newman never backed down from. Later that day, at Newman Enterprises, Audra barged into Victor's office uninvited, her face still bruised from Claire's verbal assault. She's coming after me, Audra snapped. You said she wouldn't push back. That she'd fold once she found out. Victor didn't look up from his tablet. You disappointed me, Audra. I expected results, not chaos. Audra laughed bitterly. You sent me to seduce her boyfriend and now blame me for it not working. Victor finally met her gaze, his tone cutting. You're not irreplaceable, Miss Charles. Keep that in mind. Audra's mouth opened in protest, but before she could fire back, Victoria entered and waved her off. Out, Victoria ordered, coldly. Audra hesitated, her pride barely in check, before storming out. Victor barely waited a beat before speaking. You should be thanking me. That girl would have destroyed Kyle's life. Victoria scoffed. Kyle's capable of destroying his own life just fine. And Claire's not some pawn you can shove around. Victor's eyes narrowed. If she wants to play with the big boys, she needs to toughen up. Or she'll get eaten alive. Victoria leaned forward, voice low and resolute. She's not the one spiraling, Dad. You are. You've crossed so many lines trying to protect her, she may never come back. Victor's eyes darkened. She will. She's blood. She'll understand someday. Or she'll hate you forever, Victoria said flatly. Your call. Meanwhile, back at Society, Summer Newman ran into Claire, surprised to see her alone. Wow, Summer said cautiously. You look like someone who needs wine and revenge. Claire managed a half-smile. I've had both, thanks. Neither worked. Summer gestured to a booth. Talk to me. What happened? Claire debated, then finally shared the truth about Audra, the kiss, Victor's manipulation, and her growing doubts. Summer listened quietly, sipping her drink. I always said Audra was toxic. But Victor, wow. Even for him, this is low. Claire rubbed her temples. It's not just what he did. It's what it says about how he sees me. I thought I was earning his trust. Summer snorted. He doesn't trust anyone. Not even his kids. Especially not his grandkids. Claire nodded slowly. I want to cut him out. Completely. But I don't know if I can. Part of me still hopes he'll change. Summer's eyes softened. He won't. But you can. You don't have to become like him just to beat him. Claire looked away. And Kyle? Summer sighed. That's between you two. But if you love him, maybe don't throw it all away over one mistake. Claire hesitated. It wasn't just a mistake. It was betrayal. So was what Victor did, Summer pointed out. But he hasn't lost you yet. That thought lingered with Claire longer than she expected. At the Abbott mansion that evening, Claire returned to find Kyle reading to Harrison. The little boy ran to her the moment he saw her, hugging her waist tightly. You're home. Harrison beamed. Kyle gave her a soft, uncertain smile. Claire crouched down, holding the boy. Yeah, I'm home. She looked up at Kyle. Can we talk? Alone? Kyle nodded and tucked Harrison in, then followed Claire out to the garden. She walked in silence before finally saying, You hurt me. Deeply. Kyle swallowed hard. I know. But you told me the truth. And you didn't have to. Kyle's eyes lifted. I wanted to. Because I want to build something real with you. Claire took a breath. Then here's what I need. No more lies. Ever. Not about Audra. Not about Victor. Not about anything. We're either in this together or not at all. Kyle nodded. Agreed. She looked at him for a long moment, and then stepped into his arms, letting her head rest against his chest. We're going to war, Kyle. You sure you're ready for that? Kyle held her tighter. With you? Always. Back at Newman Ranch, Victor looked out over the property, unaware that Claire and Kyle were now quietly working on a plan of their own, a way to cut his influence out of their lives for good. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming peace. And neither of them was going to let Victor or anyone stand in their way again. But the next morning, a new threat emerged. Claire received a mysterious envelope on the doorstep, unmarked. Inside was a single photo, her and Kyle kissing at the Chancellor Gala, and the faint shadow of Audra in the background, watching them. On the back was scribbled in harsh handwriting, This is only the beginning. You don't know what is really hiding. Claire's fingers trembled as she held the image. Was this a bluff? A sick joke from Audra? Or something darker? Was there something Kyle still hadn't told her? And just like that, the cracks began to form again. Because in Genoa City, no truth stayed buried forever and no alliance went untested for long. Claire stared at the photograph for several long seconds, her pulse racing as the words on the back seared into her mind. You don't know what is really hiding. It was the kind of threat that sliced deeper than any overt confrontation, because it wasn't just about trust anymore. It was about fear. About paranoia. About the realization that maybe, just maybe, the confession Kyle had given her wasn't the whole story. That maybe what he'd left out could destroy everything they were trying to rebuild. She tucked the photo into a drawer, determined not to confront Kyle immediately. Not yet. Not without more information. Her gut twisted. Was she already slipping back into Newman instincts? Distrust. Suspicion. Strategic silence. She thought she was done with all that. But how could she ignore the weight of what she'd just been sent? Downstairs, Kyle was on the phone with Jack, updating him on Claire's tentative decision to stay. She hasn't left, Dad. That has to mean something. Jack was cautiously optimistic. Good. But take it slow. She's been burned, Kyle, by you and her family. She's rebuilding her world. Don't push too hard. Kyle nodded. I won't. I want to protect what we've got. Jack's voice lowered. Then be honest. About everything. Because secrets don't stay buried long in this town. As he hung up, Claire descended the stairs, schooling her expression into calm. Who were you talking to? She asked. Kyle looked up. My dad. Trying to help. Claire nodded slowly. You sure there's nothing else I should know? Nothing, more from nice. Kyle's brow furrowed. No. Why? Claire smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. Just want to make sure we're really done with surprises.